At this point, if you've been following my channel for a little while, or maybe you haven't been, I'll let you know now, I've reviewed quite a few, both first and third-party lenses, and this new offering by 7Artisans, let's see if we can focus on that, the new 7Artisans AF 35mm f1.4 is very impressive for the price range, regardless if it's first or third-party, but the fact that it is a third-party lens makes it even that much more impressive. There's a lot of things that this lens does that kind of sets the standard for third-party manufacturers. I just can't believe that they can sell it at such a low price. They could have sold this for $250, and I feel like for the image quality it outputs, people would happily pay that. But the fact that it's $169 is just crazy. I do have affiliate links down below, but before you rashly click on that and spend your hard-earned money, I want you to actually take a closer look at what I have to say in this video. When I first got the lens, I thought it was entirely made of plastic. That would only make sense to me in my head for the price range, but when I took it outside for the first time in the cold winter and the metal got cold to the touch, that's when I figured out the body of the lens is actually a sort of aluminum type light grade metal, but it's just as light as a plastic lens, and honestly, amazingly small. It really reminds me of like nifty 50s from the DSLR days. This is kind of the same size and shape of a nifty 50 on a Nikon DSLR, Canon DSLR, stuff back then, like an f1.8 nifty 50, but the difference is this is the APS-C specific version. It's a 35mm, which is like 50mm equivalent if you convert the APS-C crop to full frame. But this is actually 1.4 instead of 1.8. I will say that I'm not a huge fan of the lens cap. It's just kind of finicky, and I wish they would even just have like the standard generic lens cap and throw their logo on that. On the bottom of the lens, you do have electronic contacts because this is an autofocusing lens. It does have a 62mm filter thread size, which on APS-C systems, that's a pretty common filter thread size. Lens hood goes on there and has a little bit of a click. Once you get it on all the way, it stays on there pretty good. There's no button to lock it and unlock it, but that's not necessary. And it's nice because it's reversible, so if you want an ultra compact lens in your bag, but I will say once you put it outward and it's actually blocking flares, it about doubles the length of the lens, but it's really not a deal breaker. It's still a really compact lens. The focus ring turns nice and smoothly, and there is no aperture ring. It's kind of a bummer for Fujifilm users. I've kind of gotten used to not having aperture rings on these autofocus third-party lenses, so it's not the end of the world for me. If you need to upgrade the firmware in this, because it's a third-party lens, you can't do it through the camera itself. There is a USB-C port here on the side instead of the bottom of the lens like a lot of these manufacturers do. I don't really love it being on the side. I'd actually kind of prefer it to be on the mount of the lens, and there's this really tiny little rubber piece that they have to go in there. I'm assuming because it's on the side, make it not having water get in there and mess up the electronics, but the rubber cap isn't connected to the body in any way. So if this gets knocked out and you lose it, you're kind of SOL. You're going to have an exposed electronic there. So, I mean, it's already not weather sealed, so don't take it out in the rain anyway, but extra don't take it out in the rain if you lose the little rubber cap. So a little bit more about the autofocus performance. It's definitely photocentric. The autofocus is loud. I'll just be straight up honest with you. It's pretty accurate, actually, for photos, specifically for photos. It seems to struggle more the more you stop it down. So at darker, deeper depth of field apertures like f8, I get a lot more misses, weirdly, than I do at f1.4 when you would expect it to struggle more because of the depth of field being shallower, but that's just what I kind of found. I'll do a little bit of a video autofocus test right now. Honestly, the lens performed better in the video autofocusing test than I expected. Under my usual settings, which are tracking sensitivity +2, AF speed -1, that's usually what seems to give me the best results with most of my Fujifilm lenses, and that resulted in very slow response from this lens, but honestly, it wasn't quick to jump to the background, so that might not necessarily be a bad thing. So what I did is I just kept the same tracking sensitivity of +2, and then I made the autofocusing speed +1 instead of -1, and the lens responded much faster, and honestly pretty well. It only had a couple hiccups. If you were doing a talking head type of video, this would work just fine, but not for any demanding autofocusing, and especially for things where it's like a one-time opportunity, like a wedding or something like that, or an event. I would not trust the lens for that. But honestly, really not bad considering the kind of autofocusing motor the lens has. I would not use it in continuous autofocus, even in photo mode, and I would say that the subjects that the lens is going to best cover would be like portraiture, where your subject's not moving around a lot, and still life kind of things, landscapes, anything where your subject's not moving. Now that all that's out of the way, let's talk about the image quality, which is probably what you want to hear the most. It's really actually very impressive for a third-party lens, and kind of even taking the third-party aspect out of the equation, this lens reminds me a lot of like the Fujifilm XF 35mm f1.4, their old 35mm offering that was then replaced with a 33mm lens that I'm actually filming on right now from Fujifilm. That old 35mm lens, a lot of people love that lens. It has a lot of charm. It's not exactly perfect, but it has character, but not in like a bad way where you're trying to sugarcoat just bad optics. It like actually had some character. And this has character too. Like, it's not perfect, and you wouldn't really expect it to be for the price point, but the images are just genuinely good, like high contrast, really sharp. You're not really trading off optical quality to get that 1.4 aperture. The background blur on this lens, it's not perfect and clinical like some modern lenses. It can actually get a little bit busy in certain situations, but not in a way that's unpleasing. If you have a lot going on in the background, you're going to see that. It's not going to just blur that out, but it still looks good. It looks cool. And that's the same thing I kind of noticed with the Fujifilm 35 1.4. And just little things like the gradation, however you say that, the transition from in focus to out of focus areas is smooth. It's not like, there's certain modern clinical lenses, once they kind of iron out all the character by trying to make it so optically perfect, it gets to the point where you can see like a hard line of what's in focus, and then it's like out of focus right after that. This has that smooth transition of in focus to out of focus, and it dare I say it, it has 3D pop. I would say this lens has that three-dimensional characteristics. The images sometimes just kind of come out at you. There's no major flaws to get that f1.4 aperture. A lot of times there's a big trade-off, especially with third-party lenses. In order to achieve that, there's no strong chromatic aberration, and I'm not going to say it's perfect. There's a little tiny bit, but you're like zooming in to really see that. You're not noticing it on the image when you're looking at it, as a whole. Everything's in the context that it is a third-party lens and that it's $169. You can't forget that. Whenever you remember that and keep that in the back of your mind, it's honestly amazing the results that you're getting with this. It has a nice close minimum focus distance of 35 centimeters, and even when you compare that to like the 33mm f1.4 from Fujifilm, that has a minimum focus distance of 30 centimeters. So you're only giving up 5 centimeters of minimum focus distance, which a lot of people increasingly like to take those up close pictures and like to have close minimum focus distance. It's another one of those things you're not really compromising to get this lens. A lot of my image samples and optical characteristics that I've been talking about so far have been in the f1.4 aperture, but once you stop this lens down to f5.6, f8, you're getting just really good results. I will say there's always a little bit of a sharpness fall off the closer to the edge of the frame you get. This is not going to be perfect for end-to-end sharpness for like landscapes or architecture photography, stuff like that. This is better for subject photography. It's better for portraits. I think that kind of makes sense with an f1.4 lens, but you're not getting corner-to-corner sharpness, I will say that. And there's always a bit of a vignette, even I would say a kind of a strong vignette. Even an f8, f9, I shot sample images of landscapes. We're getting deep focus just to have that for this review. And there's always a bit of a vignette, so that kind of naturally works to focus on a subject in the middle of the frame, but it kind of works against you when it comes to landscapes. It gets a little bit, maybe not distracting, but you notice it when the corner of the image of the sky gets a little bit darker for some reason. The colors are really good. There's no strong color casts. Occasionally with third-party lenses, it'll be like really green or magenta or really cold or warm or something like that. This is just really good. You're getting the colors that your camera is intended to have, so that's always a good thing. Whenever you shoot into a strong light source like the sun, as you would kind of expect, you get a loss of contrast. That's really with almost any lens, even first-party lenses. But if you go ahead and just turn away from the light source and you have it to your back, the contrast comes right back. So these image samples were with the lens hood on. I will say shooting directly into a strong light source, you get a loss of contrast for sure. I don't know if there's really a way to get around that for the price point though. Overall, my thoughts are kind of what I've been saying the whole video. When you consider the price of this lens, it's really good. It's much better than most third-party lenses in this price range, and I'm honestly excited to see what they come out with next. I do want to see, in terms of improvements that the lens could have, I would rather have the USB-C port on the mount of the lens, and that would just be better than the side. Or if they're going to go with it on the side of the lens, the rubber cap needs to be connected somehow so it can't get lost. That would be one suggestion. And another suggestion would be eventually for these manufacturers to come up with some better autofocusing motors. It's not really reasonable to expect them to be using like linear motors at this price point. Again, everything comes back to the price point. It's a $169 lens. You can't expect a miracle necessarily, but the autofocusing motor could be improved, especially if we want to start using these for video and stuff like that. I would say this is kind of rudimentary autofocused at best, but it gets the job done for certain kinds of photography. Like I said at the beginning, if you are interested in picking this lens up, if you like what you saw in this video, I do have an affiliate link down below. You get the lens for no extra cost to you, but you help me out for bringing this information and presenting it to you the best that I could. So if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you own the lens yourself or you're thinking about picking it up, I'd love to hear from you, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.